Look, my entire life, I've been trying to battle overthinking by thinking harder about it. Years of falling out of that trap has taught me one crucial lesson. You cannot think your way out of overthinking. Trying to battle overthinking by thinking more. Don't you think that sounds a bit counterintuitive? But for a lot of people, it's the easier way out. If you're the kind of people who overthinks and naturally thinks more, it's like you have your hammer and you think every problem is a nail. I know from experience that when I get into a rabbit hole of negative thought spirals, I'll try to mentally dissect the feelings, and it simply doesn't work. I imagine you've been there too. Your brain gets into a cloudy swirl of thoughts, and nothing you think about makes sense. You're making all these contradictions, you're a mess, and it's just not a nice place to be. And if you're like me and you're into that self-helpy and your self-help stuff and you're a bit more of an introspective person, you probably cop it worse. Because you have the self-awareness to know you've done something wrong and you've always trained yourself to go one deeper. This is a video about why you can't control your overthinking mind. And the fundamental reason for that is that you're trying to control something that most of the time doesn't even make sense. So instead of controlling it, why don't we try protecting it? We protect other things like their gold, our health, our career, our social circles, even our egos to an extent. The difference is that we can see the tangible results that these things bring. You'll know if you've gotten a bit of a beer gut, or that if your bank account and your finances are looking really bad, your thoughts simply are on a different kind of plane to that, if you understand what I'm saying. But just because they're intangible doesn't make it any less valuable. In fact, the very fact that this flew under my radar and flies under the radars of most of us might make it even more dangerous. Because the effects don't manifest themselves right away or in the way that you might think. For some reason, our thought space just doesn't get the same treatment, even though it deserves it. Because it's the table that everything rests on, just like physical health. So how do we protect our thought space in a way that allows us to live our lives to the fullest without letting our thoughts always take control? If you're a perennial overachiever, maybe you're good at sticking to your eating plans or workout routines or pushing through when things get hard, even when you don't want to. That's discipline. And you need to be disciplined with your thoughts in the same way you're disciplined with everything else. When we get into the negative thought spirals, just thinking about it makes it worse. Maybe talking to a chatbot makes it a tiny bit better. But what really makes the difference, for me at least, and allows me to arrive at better conclusions, is stepping away and either bringing them out into the real world through writing them down or journaling, or trying to identify, is this thought even productive? Am I getting anything out of having this thought? It might seem strange to hear, but thoughts are completely optional, and they're often not even true. You might think that this is a form of engaging with the thoughts, which I completely understand why you feel that way. You try that so often, you've gotten terrible results, and now you're here wondering why you can't keep your mind under control. I like you to make this distinct difference. We're not engaging with the thoughts, we're scrutinizing with them. There's a time and place for engaging with your thoughts, but if you want them to stop plaguing you, what you have to do is you have to write them down, you have to identify if they're productive for you, identify if they're even useful for you to think, especially when you're just having the thought and you're getting into a bit of that spiral that we're talking about. And just before you move on with your super busy day, I like to point you to this video because it contains one of the most fundamentally important skills of keeping your thoughts under control and productive, and why modern life makes that nearly impossible.